How would I describe the work that Arc Scotland does? I would say that Arc facilitates improvements for the support provided to people with learning disabilities in Scotland. There was a phrase coined some time ago which stuck with me, which is Arc is the honest broker. It doesn't have an interest other than improving support to people with learning disabilities across Scotland, and as such then becomes neutral, independent, and strives to do things because they're the right things to do.
For me, they're very, very supportive to people who have learning disabilities. They're always there to give a hand to the NIM members who want to go and do presentations and training and whatever. And if you want to talk to somebody, if it hadn't been for them, then I wouldn't be where I am today, basically. That's for me. That's my personal one. So there you go, you get a compliment.
Thank you very much. There are key things, though, I think, with everyone that works for Arc, be it folk that work for the National Involvement Network, people who work for the SOLD network, which supports offenders with learning disabilities, people in the Transitions Forum. They're all people who are doing the work because their values and their drive to do things better for people with learning disabilities are at the core of what they do. And I think that oozes out of every single person in Arc. And I think it's difficult, or the challenge can be events like today, which we had the National Involvement Network today, and it's a very open and full discussion, and that's sometimes hard to pull together and manage because people's voices are loud and some people feel really passionate about some things and other people are disinterested. So pulling that together is a challenge. But on the other hand, we do a lot of work with the Scottish Government and people who are policy makers and legislative groups, and that to swing from one end of a spectrum to the other, I think is a real challenge in itself. And I think that everyone in Arc are very confident about what they do, very knowledgeable about what they do, and aren't afraid of saying or aren't afraid of putting across the messages that they think are really important.
It was an event at the Scottish Parliament in January this year to launch the Charter for Involvement. Jackie Bailey, the MSP, he sponsored the event. Jamie Hepburn, he was there and he did a speech about the Charter for Involvement. And there was some speakers. I chaired the whole event, but I made a couple of mistakes, which was fine. But people said I didn't, but I felt I did.
Nobody would have known.
And it was all about the Charter and about the statements in it and how it's going to work in the long run.
There was a lot of effort put into the Charter.
Yeah, it took us 2 years to produce it.
It did. It was a lot of work went into it. And the hardest bit, I think, was trying to distill the things people thought were important down into manageable sizes. So we were able to put 12 commitments have gone into the new Charter, and getting those 12 was a bit of a challenge. The last two, we took a long time thinking about the wording for those. So we've launched that in a number of, or we've held events across Scotland to do a lot of publicising of the Charter. We're glad that that's been so well received by people, and there's lots of organisations, including health boards and local authorities, that are signing up to the Charter, and we think that's important.
Yeah.
Arc in other areas, we've had a very successful year with the SOLD network, support for offenders with learning disabilities. That goes from strength to strength. It's a very sizable group. It started off with only a handful of people, and there's a couple of hundred or so members as a part of the network, and the events have been very successful and very productive as well. They're not, thankfully, not just talking shops. They're producing things and changing things for people with learning disabilities. We published the Principles of Good Transitions, and that has become embedded in the consciousness of lots of local authorities, but more importantly, among families and people whose children are in that process of transition. And we're really pleased that that has been taken on board as much as it has.
Well, since I started in 2006, I didn't have any confidence at all. I came along to one meeting and I just sat there and I went, what is this? I'm able to chair meetings beside the NIN. Like I chaired the one in Kilmarnock, I've chaired the one in Dundee for about being involved. I've chaired a few other meetings and I did the launch in January, and I've also delivered training for presentation skills in November. Is there anything else I can think of, Peter, that I can say?
You've also been involved in recruiting for directors and chairs of different companies, not just ARC, and that's come through your work in ARC.
And every time I have a review with my organisation that I get support with, and every time I talk about that, my dad always has a wee tear in his eyes. And then he sets me off and I'm like, Dad, just look away. Because he knows what I was like then to what I am today. It's just a huge achievement. And I always say to them, oh, I'm going to resign, I've had enough. And they're all looking at me saying, this wouldn't be a national involvement network if I hadn't been chairing it.
You're quite right.
And it's quite rightly so,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
it.
We heard today from a couple of people who have taken their organisations, their involvement work in their organisations to a whole new level, and that is influenced by the work that's been done in the Charter and the commitments within the Charter for organisations to involve people more and to listen to people better.
Yeah.
The future for ARC, for me, what I would hope for ARC is that it continues to be as relevant as it has in the time I've been with ARC. Mm-hmm. And it only does that by responding to the voice of the people who are supported.
Yep.
There are a number of things we do now that are new and they're innovative. The SOLD network being one of them. And we get that information from our involvement with people. Providers networks are key. They're a key source of information, and they're also a key source for us being aware of what the needs of people are. ARC currently facilitates 7 provider forums across Scotland. It would be good if there were more. The more people that are involved, the more opportunity there are for people's voices to be heard.
And that's why we're going out to talk to them, to get more people in the provider forums and for the National Involvement Network.
Yeah. I think ARC consults, connects and includes, and in the 30 or more years I've been working in social care, I can't think of a time when those 3 things have been needed more than they are now.
We're hoping to go out and talk to try and get councils and NHS to sign up to the Charter, which one council is going to be signing up next week, Dundee Council, City Council. Also, I would like to think that we could continue just well with the hard work that we've been doing over the last
long time. And I think as well, ARC is effective at linking the Scottish Government, statutory bodies, providers with the people who receive support. And I think that's a really important role.
Yep.
That's the honest broker.